Parents, you've watched your child go from zero to meltdown in 10 seconds flat. You've tried the deep breaths, the calm down corner, the sticker charts, the therapy waitlists, and probably 3 different parenting books along the way, but nothing is holding for very long. What if our kids are just mirroring our own nervous systems? No, we might not have the crazy big meltdowns or the temper tantrums, although some of you might be, but we might be more dysregulated than we care to admit. It's not always about what we say or which parenting strategy we choose, sometimes it's our deeper physiology. When you are running on caffeine and broken sleep, in 3 years or more of being in survival mode, your kid feels it before you've said a single thing. It's their heart rate, their breath, their stress hormones literally calibrate with yours. And I'm not saying this to blame you, it's just about understanding biology, and it's not something talked about in any parenting books. Once we understand what's really happening between your nervous system and theirs, everything starts to shift, and not just for your child, but for the whole family. The real secret to your child's regulation is not another therapy or an evaluation or a medication. It might be sitting in the room next to them. And one important caveat before we get into even more details and into the weeds on this is that co-regulation is a really important thing, but I'm going to assume that your child's nervous system is already making progress, right? They're in a place of ease and regulation, or they're working towards that, right? Maybe they're already under care, but they're still stuck. You're making progress, but they're not all the way to where you want to see them, and they're not making those full breakthroughs. It might really need to be both of you going through that process. But for this video, let's assume that they're not the primary concern here, or they're already making steps, making strides, and there's just still something holding them back. That's where co-regulation can really, really be key. So that's what we're going to talk about here, how your nervous system is the foundation for your child's, what co-regulation really is, and how it's something that's functionally deeper than just a behavior. It's a biological truth. Let's talk about how the perfect storm isn't something that's just affecting our kids, and why we are such big fans and proponents of the whole family, siblings, parents getting scanned and adjusted, because it's where we see the biggest impacts. Let's start with co-regulation, because this is something that I want you to understand is not just a cool word or a catchy phrase that's being thrown around. This is a deeper biological principle. It's something that is truly how our brain is wired. There's something called mirror neurons. Maybe you're familiar with those. It's basically what's showing that we're able to connect with and regulate with other people. And those mirror neurons, that's a tongue twister, that is what means that your child is going to be feeding off of you. If you're regulated, it's going to be a lot easier for them. If they're stuck in fight or flight, or if you're stuck in fight or flight, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get to that place. And this is something that, yes, can go both ways, right? We can negatively feed off of them as well, but it is a much bigger pull and influence that we have over them than vice versa. And honestly, that's our responsibility, right? As parents, as the adults, we need to be the anchor. We need to be the grounding force for our kids, not relying on them to be that for us, right? We know that as parents, as moms and dads. So this is something that I want you to understand is automatic. It's something that's happening whether you think it's happening or not. It's just a biological truth that we are going to co-regulate off of each other. We talk a lot about the perfect storm. If you're new to Thrive, if you're new to our work within pediatric chiropractic, the perfect storm is the story of kids dealing with stress. Starts with birth, even before birth trauma sometimes. It starts with prenatal stress. It starts with birth intervention, birth trauma, early life exposures, whether that's early struggles or early medications or early antibiotics. That really hardwires a kid's nervous system for fight or flight, for them to be struggling for years and decades into the future. What maybe isn't talked about enough, which is the obvious truth, that could be your story, right? Maybe that was your start to life. Maybe that was your upbringing. And it feels maybe farther removed, right? If you're decades into this existence on planet Earth, you might not think that your foundation, your early life experiences has as much of an impact as it does on your kids. But holy smokes, does it ever, right? That is your neurological foundation. Plus, you add up years and decades of injuries, of other traumas, mental and emotional baggage that maybe you're carrying, especially if that's unprocessed chronic stress in your history, in your past. That is a huge part of your neurology. That's a huge part of your hardwiring, and we got to work through that if we are going to be the co-regulating force for our kids. Parents, I want you to understand that you being calm is the best possible therapy for them. There's something called HRV, heart rate variability. It's one of the technologies and the scans that we use here at Thrive. It's measuring your stress hormones. It's measuring your ability to handle life. It syncs between parents and kids, right? When parents have a more dysregulated and all over the place HRV, their kids are going to track and follow with this. There's some really cool research and study that's on it. So I want you to understand that you can be the template for them, right? Your slow, deep breaths can be the template that their brainstem needs to see and to follow. Your physical calming touch, your soothing soft voice, that's what they need in that moment. And that is way more powerful than an explanation, than a logical reasoning, than questions and talking to them about what's going on. We got to first regulate. We got to first be that calming force, and then we can process, then we can talk through, then we can get, and that depends on the age of the kid, of course. We can get to a deeper why and a maybe corrective aspect to that later, but we've got to start with regulation. That is the foundation, and that is step one. And guys, that is I guess that's the evidence, and that's the foundation, the neurological principle that is the reason why we are such a big fan of full families going through care together, because we see the benefits. I always joke that it's a 1 + 1 = 11 sort of scenario, because it's not just a linear improvement that you get, it's a massive exponential one. We see way more impacts when the whole family is going through that healing journey, because there's nobody that's holding them back. There's no one that's still stuck and still locked into that survival mode. We see the most impact, the best changes, the best results when families are going through that together, because adjustments are helping pump the brakes on that survival mode. It's helping pump the brakes on that stress response, and all of a sudden we see siblings aren't triggering each other as much. Bedtime gets a little bit easier. The mornings aren't quite as chaotic and stressful. So much good happens for the family. Guys, your family is meant to heal together. And parents, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't be that source of regulation when you don't have it yourself. So start with that. If you're just curious to see how the rest of your family is doing, just get scanned. I don't know what we'll find. I don't know what that'll show, but it's step one in finding out where's your nervous system at, right? Our neurological scans help us really track and measure how we're doing. And then as we go throughout care, what's changing? Are we on the right path? Is there anything else that we need to add in or change or do differently to get you to that regulated spot? So that's my encouragement. Please just get scanned for yourself, for your whole family, for the kid that's struggling. Let's use that as step one to then get that customized, personalized game plan to figure out what we need to do for you or for your family to help everybody thrive.